helping you with Acorn and RISC-OS computing.
Thank you. Glad you could all squeeze in. Thanks for coming, and thanks to the technical people here for getting this all sorted. A few problems earlier on, but we're ready to rock and roll. So on with the show. So I'm going to be talking a bit about drag and drop, which many of you might know. Some won't, so I'll do a quick outline of what it is. How can you get your drag and drop? What I've been doing at recent shows is then doing a tour of the latest issue, just flicking through the pages and talking about what's in there, which seemed to work quite well, so I'll do that again today. Then what I think we'll do is, there's a couple of applications in that I'll demonstrate, all being well. Then talk about some upcoming projects, news of things in the pipelines, and then there'll be time for questions. So what is drag and drop? Well, it's a magazine in PDF format for mainly RISC-OS on the Raspberry Pi, but relevant to every version of RISC-OS, really. I only say the Raspberry Pi because, such as the Raspberry Pi 400 here, that's what I use mostly. But a lot of it's appropriate for any RISC-OS, really. It comes out quarterly, and the way you get it is you visit the website dragdrop.co.uk, where you can sample the issue. If you like what you see, you can buy the full download. Well, there's two versions of the full download, actually. One is if you want to type in the programs yourself, so you can get the magazine only, or you can buy it with a zip file of the programs already typed in. So the price is £4.50 for the magazine only, or £5.50 with the programs typed in. And seeing as you're here today, you can get the magazine at a special price at the show. So come over to the stand number 5, just inside the door to the theatre there. Well, who is it targeted at? Well, I said RISC-OS people, but programmers and users of RISC-OS. And the aim is really, or the focus is really, to have fun learning about RISC-OS and coding. And there's many of the people who have the talents for coding software aren't the people that necessarily have the skills to write about software. Some people, of course, are just too busy to be able to write about coding. But the sort of focus of drag and drop is to have program commentary, so you can learn about how to write applications, games, mainly in BBC Basic, but we do occasionally have assembly language and other exotic languages like C or PHP or Python and all that sort of thing. Someone once said at a recent show that it's a bit like, or could be a bit like, the old glossy BBC Micro magazines or Acorn User and such like that, which I suppose is true, except of course it's PDF as opposed to a hard copy. But PDF drag and drop is designed so that you can print it yourself. It comes out as a A5 sheet like that size, A5 landscape. So you can print it or read it on the screen or whatever you want to do. So I will now start with the magazine itself. And by the way, I'm using the tablet to move the pointer and navigate. If you haven't got one of these, or you would like to try a tablet for your RISC-OS computer, then come over to the stand. Or if you like, you can go in for the prize draw at today's show, where you can win one of these things, a Wii tablet, the small version. So volume 13, issue 1, spring 2024. And the front cover there, which then just an advert for today's show. Then the contents. I'll flick through these quite quickly because that's fairly self-explanatory. Then we have a beginner's section. If you're not too familiar with RISC OS, it just explains about the 3-button mouse, how to type in the listings. And then, because we have quite a few desktop applications in recent times, type-in desktop applications, should I say, there's a procedure library, or WIMP library, of things that you add to the programs that are presented in drag and drop. Then the news pages, I mean, that's all fairly self-explanatory. Then there's an article there on NVMe, which you may have heard of. This is really just a kind of a general reader on what NVMe is, and what is NVMe, and how do I get one for my RISC OS machine, or can I get one for my RISC OS machine? So it's a very kind of broad, not too technical read. Then the page advert for the tablets, which I've just talked about. One very important thing I forgot to mention about drag and drop is that usually we have a section for 8 bits, the old BBC Micro and Electron. We've got an extra large section in this issue, game coding, a game to type in there, which you can also make run on RISC OS, upgrade it with more colors and some sounds. And then there's the listings and something else. Just going through to this page. There's a map for a game. And then I come on to the kind of the main sort of program that kind of makes this issue of drag and drop, and that's a utility or application to convert impression files to HTML. And as you may know, impression was at one point the premier desktop publishing application for RISC OS. Not so much these days, but many people still use it, including me, for publishing drag and drop. Now this one, as well, some of you may know, there's 1 or 2 applications already out there that converts impression to HTML. But this one in drag and drop, can handle images. And I will give you a demonstration. Style to web. And I've got an example impression document here, which is just some text and tables and some photos. Some spring in Inverness, because believe it or not, we do get sunshine in Inverness. So what you do is you save the impression file as that with styles, and then you drag this onto here and click go. This is the very basic version of it, and then that's converted TextDroid to .htm. You can change that round, or change the title and change other things which are a bit more advanced. So if we then wait up for it to load up, and where have the images gone? Well, that's because the one kind of advanced feature of this application to convert to HTML is that it handles images, but you have to tell it where to find the images. And in this case, I've got the images in a directory called images, and they all begin with a prefix, so that has to go in there. And if you tell it what the first bit of the file name is, it then goes and automatically finds the number of the images like that. So if we now convert that again, oh no, that's not what I wanted. And there you go. We've got the spring clip art and the spring photos from Inverness. And there's various other things you can do with it, which I won't go into too much detail here. Like, for example, you can drag extra code, HTML code onto the thing, and then do that, and then you can change the font and everything with CSS, the cascading style sheets on HTML. So that's a bit about how that works. So back to this. So as a description of how to use it, then the CSS as we've just seen, and there's the listing to type in, or if you've bought the edition of the magazine with the down programs, then you don't have to type it in. You can just run it. But some people like to type it in. I used to like typing in listings from magazines because that's how I learned so much about my programming today. But as I say, the important thing is we've got some commentary there about how the program works, what does what the variables are, and so on. So generally speaking, there's always, as well as program listings, there's always commentary and drag and drop for people who like to learn. Then next we come to WROCC coffee, basically a coffee break for things which don't really form a full-blown article, just hints and tips, really. So this time we've got something about joining up text lines from when you've scanned stuff and with optical character recognition, OCR, just a hint on using edit to do that. Then one kind of fun feature of drag and drop is that we do a lot with games, and we have a very privileged in this issue to have a look at how Tony Bartram, who is with AMCOG, what went on behind the scenes in the game called Time Run. So Tony's written us some sort of programming secrets and things about how that was coded. This next article is another type-in application, which I will just demonstrate it as before. What it does is that if you got a file of pictures or images or photos and you want to rename them into a different order, such as when you're using them with the style to HTML application we looked at earlier, sometimes they need to be rearranged or renamed in a particular sequence. So what you do with this one is you can drag a directory of images onto the applications icon by icon, and these are pictures from I was trying to do an HTML edition of one of the books, one of the drag and drop books that was published a while back. I'll come to that in a minute. Basically what you do with this is you can reorganize I think that one was supposed to go right at the beginning because it's a kind of the introit to the book. Then you press select or adjust to move it backwards and forwards. So it's a fairly simple thing. And then what it does is to click the start button, and then it basically saves the images with a different sequence of file names. Now, what we do generally in drag and drop is to present the kind of the bare bones of an application and make suggestions for improvement. So one of the things that you could potentially do with this little application is perhaps let the user click and drag the pictures to another position and do it like that. But that's something that's left to you, which you can do with the help of, and this will be a good time to bring up this book, which is my well-thumbed edition of the application tutorial and listings book, which it's been out a while now, but I have to say I'm really pleased with the reception of this book, because there's a few people that are using the the principles and the procedures in this book, and it's really good to hear, because we don't have an awful lot of software and application writers for RISC OS at the moment. So if you haven't got your copy of that yet, then do come along to the stand to have a browse, and I've got some news on this later on, which I'll tell you about. So back to the drag and drop here. I didn't want to do that. Gone back to the beginning. Yes, no. So again, the listing and program commentary, if you want to learn about how it was written. There's a review of the game from AMCOG I mentioned earlier, Time Run, which is great fun. And then we've got a series written by a RISC guy who lives in Australia, hence the RISC Oz. And again, he's used this book to write applications, and what he's doing in this instalment of his series is demonstrating how you can, demonstrating the principles of kind of icons and putting icons in windows and detecting mouse clicks. And the aim, I think, is you have to kill off the bubble by tapping on it, and you get different ones that move around the screen. So it's really good to see people starting to program their own applications. And needless to say, this is just one approach to application writing. There's everybody has their own style, but as I say, at the moment there's not too many people writing applications for RISC-OS, so it's heartening to see more people taking it up. So that's the end of that edition of Drag and Drop. And now going on to the news of things coming up, of upcoming projects. Well, the next edition of Drag and Drop after the one that's out today is the summer one, which will be out around July, end of July-ish. So keep an eye out for that one. If you haven't read Drag and Drop for a while, or if you're new to Drag and Drop, then at the stand, I'm selling a memory stick of all the back issues. That's all the issues that there ever were of Drag and Drop, right from issue 1, when the previous editor was in charge. So it's about 52 magazines you can get for usually £20, but I'm giving a sort of 10% discount, so you'll get that at a reduced rate today, and you won't have to pay postage. I've already talked a bit about the applications tutorial and listings book, and people in previous shows have asked, is there going to be a follow-up? Well, the answer is yes, and it will be along the lines of another listings book, of course, with program commentary and things to type in, probably in the region of about 40 listings. And these listings are only very short. I mean, they result in an application that's probably 5 or 6 kilobytes. And again, you can add to them and improve them and all sorts. So that, I can't promise when that will be coming out. Later this year, maybe there'll be a preview edition at the London show perhaps, but who knows, because as with most people who are in this game, I have a day job that takes away my attention. I can't tell you exactly when it will be out. All I can tell you that there will be a follow-up. So I've covered the coding, the editions of Drag and Drop, and one final thing. If you would like your Drag and Drop branded solar power calculator ruler, just come over to the stand. Extremely limited stock, but free if you buy a memory stick. or a few drag and drops, or you can buy them for a few pounds, but the stocks are very limited, so you have to be quick. And yes, I told you about you can win one of these things in the prize draw. And that's, I think, about all that I have to say. So does anyone have any questions? Stunned silence.
There is a question. I can shout loud enough. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. Thank you very much, Chris. Do you write all the applications for this? Or I know you said you had the person from Australia. So, for example, the style one, is that by yourself?
Some of the... depends, really. I mean, there's a few writers who write for drag and drop. Sometimes I have to fill in to write a lot of the stuff. So, yes, the style to HTML I wrote. But if anyone... fancies coding, you don't have to be very good at it. You can just write something simple, or just as long as you can write a bit about how it works. As I say, there's a lot of very talented people that write code and write fantastic applications and all that. But there's not that many people that are good at writing about. So people that are very good at writing software, and there's those people that can write about writing software. So that's what we look for in drag and drop. So as I say, it doesn't have to be something very extensive or polished or shiny. If you've got something that you want to demonstrate, maybe you've got back into Risk OS stuff after a while, then we would be delighted to have it in drag and drop.
Hi, Chris. You've written style to HTML, but does it work with the full-blown publisher version?
Well, it works with the style file when you export the style file. I don't know enough to say whether that's with the full-blown publisher version. I'm assuming the full-blown publisher version can still save out style files, which, unless there's a very advanced style, if I can use that word, it may not work. But if it can output style, impression style files, then it will work with that application. Well, actually, there's one question that somebody's asked me, or a couple of people asked me, about the subscriptions. As I mentioned at the start, did I mention it at the start? If not, sorry, I forgot. But drag and drop is pay as you go. Just go to the website to buy it. And people say, well, are there subscription offers? Can I buy the next 4 in advance? And so far I haven't run a subscription, simply because I don't want to promise people the next 4 issues and then something happens or there's a delay. Having said that, last year at the end of volume 12, which would be this time last year, well, no, summer last year, there was a special offer to subscribe to volume 13, and I'm considering running something similar this summer, so look out for that. But for the time being, it's kind of pay as you go, no commitment really. Well, thanks for coming, and